Welcome to the podcast. Now that I'm engaged, how do I get married? I'm your host, Kevin Dennis.
And I'm August Joker, co-host and brand manager at Fantasy Sound Event Services.
In addition to leading the charge at Wedding IQ, I also run Fantasy Sound Event Services, a lighting and entertainment company based in Livermore, California, that I founded over 35 years ago.
Each week on this podcast, we'll explore a new corner of wedding planning so you can prepare for your I-dos without the stress.
From budgeting to booking vendors to the day of drama.
Let's talk smart wedding planning.
All right, folks, welcome to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married? We have Jamie Chang here with us today to talk about sustainability at weddings. But before we jump into all that good information, Jamie, welcome.
Hi.
And can you tell us? Oh, I'm glad to be you're here too. But can you tell us a little bit about Jamie and how we got you here today?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here. Excited to talk to you all. I'm Jamie Chang. I'm the owner, lead planner, designer, all the hats of Muse Events. My company, we do destination weddings. We've been doing this now for, I always have to think about this a little bit, over 16 years. It's been a fantastic, wonderful journey. So we plan destinations all over the world. And in sort of that process of working with couples all over the place, I've seen a lot of things and done a lot of things in different ways. And that has also kind of led me down this path to, and this is always something I've cared about as well, to sustainability and the importance of thinking about that in conjunction with your wedding. Not just because it's great for your fellow man and animal and this place we call home, but also because weddings, and we'll get into this, I'm sure, are a beautiful celebration, but a very, it's a one-time situation, and that results in a lot of one-time decisions and things. And if we can be a little bit more conscious of that, even if it's just a little bit, that makes a difference.
Yeah, I'm glad you said it one time, because that's the goal, is to make these weddings one time. So, all right. So we're going to dump into sustainability, but for couples who feel overwhelmed, what's the easiest first step they can take to make their wedding more sustainable?
Yeah. So I actually think the first place to start really, and it really has the biggest impact as well, is where. So the actual location of where you're getting married. And it's a little bit different, right? If you're doing a destination wedding versus something in your hometown. But even in a hometown wedding, think about sort of the physical place makes a big difference in the sense of, and specifically around travel. So we're talking, that could be a plane, that could be multiple planes, that could be a plane, a boat, and a car. Or if it's, somewhere in like, say, Northern California, right, in the Bay Area, it could just be that you live in San Francisco and you're getting married in Napa, or you live in, Oakland and you're getting married in San Jose. Like, choosing where that place is in conjunction with sort of where you live, but maybe more importantly, where all your guests live, plays a big factor in that travel aspect. How far, how long, how are they getting there? And for most people, right, that tends to be by car, if we're talking like a hometown wedding or some form of a hometown wedding.
Yeah.
And so thinking about that is a good place to start, because if you can reduce that travel, not only is it, happier for your guests, right? They don't have to travel as far, but it also means the amount of, greenhouse gases and climate impact is smaller.
And that's such an easy way of looking at. I never light bulb moment for me, but it was like, that's such an easy way of looking at it.
Yeah, it's
sure, it makes a big difference,
right? It's a big decision.
Totally. And especially on the number of guests you have too, right? Like out in the Bay Area, we get some pretty big numbers, like upwards like 400 people sometimes. So like looking at each individual person, and if they're all driving a certain distance, like that really can make a big impact.
I mean, if most of your guests, say, live in San Jose, right? making them all trek up to Napa, for example. Not that we don't love Napa, but making them
Mhm.
all trek up to Napa is a drive, right? It's a 2-hour plus drive depending on where you're coming from.
I was like, and without
Right,
traffic.
right, exactly, right. We're 2 hours is probably like on the middle of the day on a Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
When we're
10 to
talking
2,
the
10 to 2.
weekend, it's a totally different story. And so reducing that travel time and that distance makes a big difference. And once again, not only is it a bonus for your guests, right? They don't have to travel as far, but it also just means that the climate impact of the location is already reduced.
Yeah,
I love
in
it.
that case, are you kind of a big fan of shuttles for guests too? Like, do you think that makes a big difference as well, like getting from the hotel to the venue?
Definitely. And I think how you do that and how that's like the logistics of that depends on the wedding. In some cases,
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't make sense, but shuttles are great because it's once again, it's just more climate friendly, right? And then there's bonuses of that, right? Then you don't have drunk drivers. Then people don't have to figure out how to get
Yeah.
there. There are logistics around that, obviously, and not everybody likes shuttles, but in a lot of cases, it works really well. And then you're not driving either, right? Which is who doesn't who I mean, okay, some people like driving, but I would say most people would
I
rather not drive if they
don't.
have a choice. So yes, shuttles for sure. Or if you happen to be in a place like, let's say you're in SF in San Francisco, and there's like decent public transportation, like having that as an option is great.
Mm,
Or even just rideshare. Like if you can
mhm.
utilize rideshare and carpool, right? Like all those things help make a difference.
No,
I love
yeah.
it.
And I do think that is an easy first step. Are there any like small things, like small swaps that couples, it doesn't cost a lot of extra money, but can make a really big environmental impact on the wedding overall?
Yeah, and actually that's a really good question because a lot of people will think or do think that when you're choosing sustainability, you're paying more. And
Mhm.
that is the
Yeah.
case in some cases. That is
Hmm.
true in some instances. But in a lot of cases, the decisions you make can actually save you money. So here's another really like it's simple because it's a simple act, but for some people this can be a little hard. Is if you're thinking about your wedding meal, so appetizers, plated dinner, whatever. If you just eliminate beef as a choice, just that one decision, you could replace it with fish, you can replace it with chicken, you can replace it with pork. Yeah, but just removing beef, like massive difference. Because beef as a like a food product, right? It requires more water, it requires more land.
Hmm.
There's the methane aspect. There's a lot that goes into it, and I would probably bore people if I went into it. But the point is that it's like on the scale of proteins, it's way higher. So if you just literally that out of the equation, everything else is the same. Let's say flavors, type of meal, uh, vegetables included, sauces, all that good stuff. Just doesn't have beef. Big difference.
That's so interesting. I didn't like that's yeah, just such a small thing that is totally doable. And honestly, you might save money because I do feel like
Yes.
sometimes at venues, like the beef option is a little bit more pricey than chicken or fish.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a super easy thing for couples to manage.
And I know some people are like big beef lovers. Like I've had clients like this, and I know people, so I understand that that's not necessarily an easy decision for everybody. But
Hmm.
if you can, yes, it will save you money because it tends to be a more expensive protein. In addition to the fact that it'll help the sustainability of your wedding, which win-win, right? That's kind of awesome, and not that hard. You're not really changing that much.
I love
No,
it. All
yeah,
right.
you're really not.
Since we're on catering, and we talked about like beef being like one easy way of doing it, what are some other choices that can help make the wedding like cut down on waste or emissions when it comes to catering? Are there other
Yeah,
things as well?
there is. So, you know how there's sort of that debate between plated meal versus buffet versus family style versus stations, right? And everyone has strong feelings about these things. So I'm not going to try to impart what I think is like the best meal choice because that there isn't really one. But
Yeah.
I will say from a sustainability standpoint, plated meals are easily the best choice.
Oh.
And mainly because you know exactly as a caterer, right? You know exactly how many people and what they've ordered. And so the
Mm.
amount of ordering, you always will have extra because that's what caterers do, just in case, right? Judy decided that she wanted the chicken and now she wants the fish, right? There are instances of that. So you have to have some extra, or if, Uncle Joe happens to bring a date that he wasn't supposed to bring,
Good old
there's an
Uncle
extra
Joe.
person. Yeah, it happens. So you have to have some extra, but in terms of like quantity of extra, it's a lot less, right? Because they know exactly how many people and how many plates they're making versus like with a buffet, you never quite know. I mean, yes, they have estimates because obviously they're in this business and they have historical data, but as a whole, you never really know, right? You don't know how much chicken people are going to eat. You don't know how much beef, let's say beef is on your menu, people are going to eat, how much salad, whatever. So you have to have
Mm-hmm.
enough
An
so that you
abundance,
don't run
yeah.
out. And so there's more leftovers. And
Mm.
it's, I mean, we can go into what you do with leftovers, but just choosing like your meal choice as a plated meal just reduces the amount of like food purchasing that has to happen and thus food waste that
And
happens post.
but with do you think a lot of caterers push sometimes the buffet because it's easier for them? Is it
Hmm.
labor or what is the reason
Yeah,
behind that, you think?
it is labor. So with
Okay.
a plated meal, you need more people.
Mm-hmm.
Have to be able to bring them out kind of like to bring them out as a table, right? So it's not five people get their meal and the other five are sitting there going like, "Where's my meal?" Right? They kind of come out at once. Versus
Yeah.
a buffet doesn't require as much staffing. I mean,
Mm.
unless it's a buffet where they're serving you
Mhm.
early at the buffet, it they bring it out right, and they just have to replenish. So it doesn't require as many hands, if that
Mm.
makes sense. And so the there's more food, but there's less staff. Versus
Makes
plated is
sense.
the opposite: less food, more staff. And then if you get into like family style or stations, then it can be like more food, more staff
Um,
because you need to have the hands to, serve, replenish, bring things out, but you also need to have enough food so that you don't run out.
Well, and one question I have for you, because I know, like, obviously you're a big champion of sustainability and you've been in the industry for a long time. With a lot of the caterers you work with, do you find that they are trying to put forth initiatives to be more sustainable, or do you think it's fair for couples to ask those kinds of questions with their caterer when they're booking them?
Yeah, no, fantastic question. So I do think there are a lot of caterers who are working on this. Some
Mhm.
are more forward than others. It's I like to say that it's we're all well. First of all, we're all small businesses, right?
Yeah.
So I think keep that in mind as a couple. And it's we don't have necessarily the funding to make like changes all at once on a dime, so it takes time. You have to adopt things. You have to figure out how that's going to work and how it doesn't disrupt whatever your process is or your chef or whatever. So it takes time. So I'd say like progress over perfection is the key here. Like no company is going to be perfect likely, but if they're trying, that's a big deal. And I would say most caterers are trying. I think there's a lot now, especially in the Bay, who they the focus really is sort of that farm to table in general.
mhm.
And so they're working with local farmers. They're trying to get their products locally, which is another great step in being more sustainable because it doesn't have to travel as far. It's fresher. It's it'll taste better. Like that's a big plus. It's seasonal, right? They're working in seasons so that things are in demand and it's not hard to find. I don't know, strawberries in January. They're working with what they have and they're making yummy things with that. So I think there's a lot of caterers who that like that's kind of a good step that I think a lot of people are doing. The question is
Mm.
like, what happens beyond that, right? And the just asking like as a couple if you don't know what you're looking for, let's say, for example, you don't have a planner who can guide you on this, or it's not super clear, let's say, from a caterer's website, what they're doing or how they're doing, you could just ask the straight up question like, what are you doing to be more sustainable? And
Mm.
just see what their answer is. And in some cases, they'll be like, oh, we're working on this and this, or we're thinking about doing this. Or their answer might be like, and if it's sort of the right, then you kind of know, right? They haven't really thought about it. But I will say whether or not you choose them, the good thing is asking that question gets them to think, right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Oh, maybe this is something I should be thinking about, or maybe this is something couples care about. And so as a vendor, that's kind of a nice push. But I'd say as a
Mhm.
couple, just purely asking that one question to anyone, really, any of your vendors, is a good way to start that conversation and just like learn what they're doing or what
Mhm.
they're not doing or what they're interested in doing, even if they haven't done it yet, right? Like that shows intention. And I think that makes a difference.
I love it. I love it. Oh, okay, so let's move past or kind of past a little bit catering to like beverages and bar service. So there's a winery here locally in our town that has been doing a big sustainability push to like make their wine more sustainable and the processes that they do. And it's a long process that they've been
It is
going over for the years. So like can couples incorporate like sustainability into their bar and beverage choices as well, or is that
totally.
a difficult thing? Oh, it is. Okay.
It's totally possible. I would say there's sort of two ways you can attack this depending on sort of, and I guess really there's three, depending on kind of your situation. I would say if you're hiring a bartending company, there
Mhm.
are companies who specifically source, their beer or their wine or even like their spirits potentially from, you know, companies that are local, perhaps, is
Mm.
like step one, right? Step two might be it's a company who's, using recycled glass or who knows, right? Who knows what their process, because I'm not a professional in this area. But during that process of brewing their beer or, storing the wine or whatever those steps are that they take to grow what they need to grow or source what they need to source or make what they need to make, they're taking steps to, whether that's eliminate waste or be more efficient with this in the sense of electricity, like their warehouse operations, or
Mm.
maybe that's the physical gear of what they're using and how they reuse it, or um, I mean, it could be lots of things, honestly, but there
Mhm.
are companies who are taking steps. And so if you're working with a bartending company who is also aware of the various companies, let's say, and are utilizing those companies, like that's an easy route to go, right? Because no thinking on your part as a couple. You just hire the right bartending company. But in the case of if you can BYOB, right? Because there are venues that allow
Mhm.
that as well. Then it's on you to think a little bit more about that as well. And so that
Mm.
I think a good first step is local. If you can source things locally, once again, reduce transport time. It's fresher. You can have conversations with those individual companies depending on how far you want to go with this. Um, and then if it's not none of those things, right, and you're working with a venue that supplies the bar, um,
Mhm.
then it's just asking that question again, right? Like, how do you source your spirits or your beer or your wine, and do you have options that are more, natural wine focused or sustainability focused or eco-friendly, right?
Mm.
And they may not have an answer for you, or they might be like, yeah, we have these three we've been exploring. Let's have you try it at the tasting or whatever, to allow you to make those decisions. And
Mhm.
once again, it's sort of like a progress, not perfection situation where like maybe not everything is like super sustainable. Maybe it's like a little bit here and a little bit there, and maybe not this, but it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's just every little decision you can make collectively makes a difference.
Helps. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think it goes to the overall picture. And the nice thing is, I mean, being in Livermore, California, we have 60 wineries in our area, so there's lots of wine choices to choose from locally. But also, the nice thing is there's a lot of breweries in our area as well that make a really decent beer, as well as there's a handful of spirit companies out here. So there's a way to incorporate that locally and bring that in. And I think a lot of our venues in our market are really embracing buying from the local folks as well. So it's nice to see.
I mean, it's great, right? If you think
Yeah.
about it from a business standpoint, and obviously we're this is meant to help couples, but from a business standpoint, it really benefits them too, right? Like they're
Hmm.
supporting local as a couple, you're supporting local, and that's so good. I mean, everyone likes
Hmm.
supporting local, right? These are your neighbors and your community, and even if you're doing a destination wedding, right? Let's say you're coming in and you don't live there, you're supporting that community that
Hmm.
you're coming into, and that's awesome. I mean, who doesn't
Yeah.
like that? It's
Yeah.
it's it's win-win, really.
Well, and if you think about it too, I'm big on guest experience when it comes to weddings, and so when you're doing that, you're exposing them to other,
Yes.
maybe wines or beers or things that they don't normally drink. So
Yep.
it's also giving them a great guest experience as well.
Yeah, it's new, right? And that's fun
Yeah.
too. If you're not familiar with this winery or that brewery, right? It's interesting. It's not something you find in the grocery store necessarily, right? It makes your wedding a little more fun too.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, this is cool. I feel like it's a very like cool conversation to have. It definitely gets the wheels turning. And like right now I'm just thinking like the more we're talking about this, I'm like sustainability is like an onion. Like we just keep pulling it
Yeah.
back and pulling it back, and we're like learning these you just new things to think about. But I know we definitely want to touch on a few other vendors as well and just kind of figure out sustainability in those areas. So, what do you think about sourcing like florals or decorations? Like, what can couples look for to try and keep things eco conscious in that area?
Yeah. So let's do floral first, and then
Okay.
we'll separate decor for a second. So floral, the way to kind of think about that, I would say, is very similar to catering,
Hmm.
where
Mm.
if you can work with a florist who sources locally, that's like big step one, right? It's sort of that same vein with the bar and the food. It's like it'll be fresher, it'll be in season, it'll look beautiful. You're not shipping it halfway across the world. It doesn't need, refrigeration for as long and travel time. Like it's just better. And it's cool because once again you're supporting local farmers. So if you have a florist who focuses mainly on that or solely on that or even grows their own flowers, those exist too. That's that's a great way to start,
We have
I'd say.
amazing florists here locally that grows
Mhm.
a lot of her own flowers, but then also supplies what she, grows to other florists as well locally as well. So yeah, trying from flowers. We got to go to her flower farm, and it was such an
It
amazing
was so
experience.
cool. It
Yeah,
was really cool.
yeah,
I mean, that's awesome, right? Like
yeah,
you can grow it and make it or like you said, you're being sourced from someone like that, right?
yeah,
That's kind of awesome. It's growing in your backyard, right? As
yeah,
opposed to something that's in Thailand that
yeah.
is in some greenhouse and has to ship across the world. And I'd say
On
in
an
that
airplane
same,
to get here because they can't get here fast.
it has
So
to come fast, right?
yeah,
Super fast. I would think about it in the sense too of the if floral is really important, which for a lot of people it can be sort of maybe in some cases their number one thing. If that's really important, if a particular something is really important, like let's say peonies, which lots of people love,
hmm,
like get married in the season. Peonies are in season. Don't get married in December. Get married in June.
yeah.
Mhm.
Like if that's a important piece for you, then do that. Because once again, like it might not be grown locally potentially, but it's not going to have to come as far. It's going to be more in supply. It's not going to be as expensive as it would be if you were trying to get it in December.
They're probably
You
going to
know?
look better too. Like there'll be nicer flowers that when they're in season.
Yes. Yes, more options, right? More colors, all the things. And so think about that too. If that's a big, like, you gotta have peonies, then, get married when peonies are in season because it'll just help you. It'll help your budget. It'll help your florist. It'll look better, more local. So I would say that's a big piece of like picking a florist is if you can work with somebody who works with local seasonal blooms because it'll just once again sort of win-win, right? It'll be less
Yeah.
expensive, it'll be in supply, it'll be fresher, won't have to travel as far, you're supporting local. Like all wins. Say the other thing to think about with floral is, and I'm sure we'll get to this, is sort of the waste aspect, the after the fact, which I think a lot of people think about. For some, you if you want to keep it, fantastic. Like decorate your whole house with floral. Like who doesn't love give it away to Aunt Judy, right? And Uncle Joe. Pass that out. That's okay too. Get it to live a little longer. But if you can't, if you want to go down the route of donation, there's options for that. You have to do a little bit more legwork. You very likely in some cases have to actually have somebody do it for you. Bring it. I actually recently got an email from a high schooler up in, I think she's like Sausalito or something, and she's doing this like it's like a personal passion project where she wants to get floral post events and donate it and take it to like nursing homes and rehab centers and I was like, that's awesome, right? Like if you're willing to do the legwork, right, which is the hard part, it's the coming, picking up, and then delivering, redoing and delivering. There's so many people where there's just leftovers that just
Yeah.
and
Well,
that's an
and
awesome thing.
here, in the Bay Area, like in our little Tri Valley area, there's actually this really wonderful organization called Big Bay Ray, and they do exactly that. So there are a few florists and venues who do this in the area. So typically, when they meet with the couple during the planning process, they'll ask them like, what are your plans for the florals after? Like, are you repurposing them for a brunch, or do you want to give them out? Or we work with this organization that will come pick up the flowers after the event. And I actually took a meeting with her once. She was so sweet. And she said basically they take all the florals and they kind of split them up into little bud vases. And then they take those little bud vases to the local nursing homes and the veterans hospital we have nearby. And then they'll just, share the wealth with everyone. And it's so sweet.
Yeah. And then someone gets to enjoy it after the fact, right? It can live on for a little longer. It's a little less one-time use only. There's so many benefits to it, and
Well,
that's awesome because that kind of service doesn't exist in every place. So it might not be depending on where you're getting married, but I would think about that because it's a nice way for your floral to live on for at least a little while. And then I would say big thing is once they die, compost.
Yep.
Like if you have compost in your area, compost it. So much better than just throwing it in the trash.
Well, that should be with everything. Everything when it comes to
Yeah.
the wedding should be
Yes.
composted and all that good stuff because there's a lot of waste when it comes to weddings. So
There is, and if it can, if you can become something that can then feed something else, like that circular is awesome.
Yeah.
So there's floral. I mean, we could go on to other things with floral, but I'd say that those are the big kind of things to do, in the sense of choice. Your other question was decor, right?
Yeah.
So I think decor is if you can rent it.
Yeah.
Like renting is the epitome almost of that concept of reuse, right? Like it goes out once and then it gets clean, it goes out again, and then it gets clean and it goes out again. And so it lives on, and it's not a one-time purchase, which I think a lot of people veer towards naturally is just, oh, I'll just buy it. Right. And in some cases, maybe it's pretty cheap.
Yeah. It'd be cheaper than
Hop
buying
onto
new.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Right. And so that can be an easy choice for a lot of people. But then it's like coming from probably China. What's it made of? Probably crap. And then what are you doing with it afterwards?
Probably
nothing.
It's going to sit nothing. Yeah.
So if that's the case, you can print it, because then you don't have to buy it. You don't have to store it. You don't have to set it up. You don't have to take it down. You don't have to figure out what you're doing with it afterwards. It have another life. And then if you have to buy it, let's say it doesn't exist
Mhm.
in the rental world, which sometimes it doesn't. See if you can buy it secondhand. Like, Facebook Marketplace. Is Craigslist still around?
Yeah.
Am I dating myself?
No, you are, but yeah, it's still around.
Buy now groups, right? Or sorry, buy nothing groups, right? There's
Mhm.
things like that as well. If you can look at those places, there's a lot of stuff there that just it's fine, it's great. It's like votives or whatever, right? That you need a whole bunch of votives, but do you really want to own 100 votives? Probably not. See if you can go to your neighborhood Goodwill or thrift store or what have you, right? And that could just be something that's bought secondhand and then redonated potentially. It has a circular life. I would say the other thing too is if you happen to have a family member, a mom, a sister, or friends who like have cool stuff, you can also borrow things.
No,
One
gotta
time
borrow,
thing.
right? It's part of it.
Let's say you have a mom who loves candles, just has tons of them, like tons of these glass, votives or battery operated because she likes putting them all out in the living room during Christmas. I don't know, I'm making stuff up. But you could just borrow, right? Like you could just borrow it, use it, give it back to her. It's a beautiful situation. You don't spend any money, which is fantastic. It serves its purpose, which is what you want, the look, the ambiance, but you don't have to buy it and it doesn't have to end up in the landfill.
All right. Well, there you go. So speaking of landfill, what are some of the easiest steps to minimize waste when it comes to the wedding, like overall, the whole day itself?
Yeah. So I think, and this is totally going to date me, but way back when, so August, you probably would never have heard of this. There was this whole campaign. Kevin, you probably have around
Yeah, thanks. So I'm old and you're young, August. She's figured us out.
Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Oh
Yes.
no, that was in elementary school, guys. Don't worry, I remember that. The 3 R's.
There was a whole PSA, right? Like
Yep.
it was a huge, like nationwide thing, and I think that's a great way to think about your wedding. So it's and what I realized as I got older is it was sort of like these are 3 options you have, but really the way to think about it is it's 1, 2, 3. So reduce first, second, recycle third. So if you think about a physical thing, that could be your dress, that could be the card box that people bring cards and put into, that could be favors, that could be signage. I mean, whatever, right? Whatever we're talking about. I think the first thing to think about is reduce. So not reduce just to reduce, but like care about a garter toss? Do you even need a garter? Do you care about having 3 dresses for your wedding? Maybe not. Do you care about having a veil? Do you care about having signage behind your seat that says, newlyweds or whatever, right? Do you care about having ceremony programs? Do you care about having like a what do you call it? There's like a sign that goes into a cake that has like words, right? Do you care about that? Or is that just something you found on Pinterest that you thought was cute? So there's a lot of things when we get down to it, when you really ask the question, someone would be like, I actually really don't care about that. Like, I don't care. I just thought that was something I was supposed to have. Like, that's what's in all these pictures. So I thought that was needed, right? And if you don't need it, if that's not important to you, and if it is, that's a totally different story. But if it isn't, give you full permission to not have to do what you think you should do and just do what feels right for you. And in some cases, that might be chucking a whole lot of things into the dump pile, the imaginary dump pile, because you're not even doing it. But that dump pile, already eliminates, right? You don't have to buy it. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to rent it. You don't have to worry about it because it's not even on your table of things that you need, right? So
Yeah.
I would say reduce first. That actually eliminates a lot of things. Like favor, I don't really want a favor, but everyone does a favor. It's like you don't want a favor, don't do a favor. If there's not something that, well, then we'll get into number 2 that can be reused or enjoyed or is special to you, then what's the point? Why waste the time?
Mhm.
Why waste the money? It's not going to benefit you in any way. It'll probably just get dumped.
Yep.
So I'd say reduce first. Like a great way to start. The second would be reuse, right? So going back to the kind of discussion we had around decor, right? Is it something you own already? Is it something you want to own? So let's
Mm.
say you really wanted to put this like cool case, vanity, like vintage thing in your wedding, and you totally know where you're going to put it in your house afterwards. Like that's a different situation, right?
Mhm.
Go find the thing you want that you'll reuse, that's going to live in the corner of your bedroom that you're going to love. That's great. Like that reuse concept is fantastic. Or it's buying secondhand, right? And you're reusing it and then it's going to get reused again. Or it's that could even be your wedding outfit, right? Like there's so many awesome vintage stores. There's so many options now online where you can buy something, and that's not for everyone. Not everyone's going to love that. But if that's kind of fun to you, right? Something has a history. And even if you change it, right? You could buy something and change it. That's cool too, but that's also reusing, right? As opposed to
Yeah.
getting something new. And then I would say the last is recycle. So if those two things can't happen with whatever the physical thing is that you're making or buying or getting or using, make sure it can be circular. So it's the kind of, paper that can be easily recycled. It's it's glass, right? It's
Yeah.
something that can get, I don't know, maybe you're crafty and you're gonna like upcycle it into something new. Like that's cool too. One of those three is and 1, 2, 3, I'd say is the
I love it.
route you're trying to go is the goal. So that you don't have as much that's purely I bought it and I threw it away.
Well, I feel
Yeah.
like you started your own little PSA there. 1, 2, 3. You got it.
Yeah,
You
I
got
like
it. Yeah.
that. But I feel like there's like a certain like charm and magic to weddings that have a lot of like thrifted items or secondhand items. Like we had my friend Meg got married last year and we had her on the podcast to talk about her experience, but she incorporated a lot of that. Like she loves to thrift. So a lot of her decor pieces were thrifted. Her centerpieces were plants that she just grew
Yep.
in her home just for her wedding. And obviously, like, it wasn't 100% sustainable. Like she still bought a dress, like she did these other things, but she did make a lot of small conscious choices. And I do love the idea you're saying, like it's just baby steps, right? Like small things can make a big impact. So even if you have, 5 out of your 10 choices go in that direction, it's just an amazing choice to make.
It is. It is. And it can look awesome. It's gonna look unique, right? In a lot of cases. For some that's not what they're going for, that's not their vibe. And I get that. But I think are open to exploring that or are into it for some reason, then and what I think is great is that's part of kind of who she is.
Yeah.
And her personality. And so the fact that her wedding reflected that is awesome. It's not it doesn't have to be this thing you're like stressing out over necessarily. I think it's just a matter of being a little bit more thoughtful. And is there a better choice? Because maybe there is. That would be more cost effective, maybe even look better, maybe be easier, and then also, be more sustainable. A lot of sustainable things, honestly, have a lot of multiple benefits. And I think that's the beauty of it. And it can, like it can save you money and it can be more efficient and you can support someone else and it can reduce the amount of work you need to do and it can make it look amazing. They're not mutually exclusive. it can be awesome and memorable and beautiful and also be sustainable.
I love it. All right, we're getting on time here, so we're going to ask you one more question before we wrap up. And I'm just
Okay.
we're going to put you on the spot, and it could be even something that you already talked about. So, what's the one sustainable wedding tip you wish every couple knew?
What's the one sustainable wedding tip? I think it's one of the ones we've already talked about.
Okay,
I'm not sure I can pinpoint one, but I would say you can think about location. You can think
that's
about
what it's
beef.
funny. I thought back location was when I was
Yeah.
going through it. Yeah.
It's honestly, it's the biggest contributor
Hmm.
to,
Well, and
if
that
you were
was
to
the
like,
first thing that came to
if
your
you were to,
mind when we brought it up.
yeah, if you were to actually calculate, and that's honestly, that's kind of hard. But if you could actually calculate it and took the time to calculate it, the travel aspect is the biggest piece.
Hmm.
So if you can be a little bit more local, and if you can't, and sometimes that's not the case, right? Like I do destination weddings, so I know this firsthand. You have family on the East Coast, you have family on the West Coast, you have family international, like people are coming from all over the place. If you're just a little more thoughtful about where you choose so that, let's say, the majority don't have to travel as far, or there's a direct flight, or if we're talking a hometown wedding, right? Like you're being conscious of where people are coming from, most of the people at least. If you can think about that, that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge.
All right. I love it.
Kevin, can I ask one more question really quick?
I guess we'll allow it.
We'll allow it. Okay, because I'm just and I'm sorry if this also feels super on the spot as well, but since I know this is something that's very important to you, I was wondering if you could share if there's something that comes to mind of maybe like a really unique, maybe one of your favorite ways that one of your couples has incorporated a sustainability aspect into their wedding. Is there one thing that kind of stands out to you in the past?
Trying to think if it's hard to pick one. I
Yeah.
To be really honest, I think couples who care about this, it's a part of who they are and what they value.
Yes.
It tends to permeate a lot of things. It's not sort of just one thing,
One
I
big
would say.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think one thing that is maybe also the earned undercurrent of everything we've talked about is local.
Yeah.
Like if you can just think locally, right? Like where you choose, the vendors you pick, the venue, right? The products, etc. Like that can permeate a lot of that sustainability by just keeping things local. And
Mhm.
once again, like it's a bonus of you're also supporting the community,
Yes.
which is
Mm,
awesome. So that might be the undercurrent, say maybe of kind of everything we've talked about is this idea of local. Now, obviously, it'd be wonderful if those businesses are also doing their own thing to be more sustainable. But let's shove that to the side. Like if it's just the people in your neighborhood, um, right? It's and whatever that neighborhood is, right? That might not be where you live. That might just be the place you're getting married. But you're supporting them. You're pulling things that are grown, that are made, that are crafted by people who are living there, small businesses. It's it's a nice way to go about it that also more sustainable.
I love it. All right, Jamie, we always wrap up all the episodes of Now Them Engaged, How to Get Married, asking our guests, what's their favorite part of a wedding? What's your favorite part?
I am always a ceremony person.
Are
I
you?
It's the reason why you're there,
Yeah.
the reason why everyone is there, and I think it's also that moment when, as a couple, you kind of yes, you're standing in front of all these people you love, and whether that's 30 people or 150 or 400, there's this moment that happens when you've kind of forgotten about everybody else. And it's usually when you're saying your vows, not always, but usually. And like a magic there. And I cry at almost every wedding
Hmm.
that I've ever been to and done. And it's because it's special. This is like their commitment to each other. And
Yeah.
no matter where we are or what it looks like, it's just that they're looking at each other and they're vowing to, support each other and be with each other through thick and thin. And That's my favorite part. It's always my favorite part.
It's funny. It's funny you say that because when my wife and I got married, we had 200 and almost 20 guests or whatever at our wedding. But I don't remember seeing anyone like at the ceremony. Like I just don't remember that. Like the guy, like I remember walking out and like waving at people we go, but I couldn't tell you who they were or what. It was just such a blur. But it was like being in that moment. I agree with you. There's
Yeah, and
some,
so when I got married, just as a side story, is apparently when I was doing my vows, there was like this big uh fire truck,
that drove by.
ambulance
Oh.
alarm happening like down the street, and everyone was like, they were all worried, right? Because I'm talking, and I was like, I didn't even hear it.
Oh,
Like
that's yeah.
I literally did not hear it, and I think you're in that moment, right? Which is beautiful.
Yeah.
You should be, and that's just I love that.
Yeah, and
That's
it's funny
really
that
that's
that's
why you're there.
I totally can understand what you're going through because not that I had fire trucks, but being there, you don't see anything that's going on. So anyway,
You're in this special place in this special time with this special person that you're
I
committing, to be with, and it's just beautiful.
agree.
It is.
All right, Jamie, how can folks get in contact with you and hire you to plan their destination wedding?
Yeah. So my website's Mango Muse Events. I'm on all the major socials. I'm probably most active on Instagram. I do blog, and I share a lot of the tips, some of the tips, more tips on the blog as well around sustainability, planning, etc. So check me out over there.
All right. I love it. All right, Jamie, we will have all your information in show notes as well. And we can't thank you enough for being here and making us
Thanks.
all a little bit more intelligent when it comes to sustainability. So thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
To our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Now That I'm Engaged, How Do I Get Married podcast.
Brought to you by Fantasy Sound Event Services.
I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. Please get in touch with me or August if you have any topic you would like us to cover.
Or if you're struggling with your wedding planning, please be sure to submit a question to podcast@fantasysound.com.
I encourage you to check out our other episodes on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're a fan, we'd love if you would subscribe to the podcast and leave a review.
It helps others find our podcast so that they can learn from our guests too. And to everybody listening,
Happy wedding planning!